I guess Gen went live last night talking about the whole roster shit and blah blah blah, saying like, hey, it's fucked up that we told him so late in regards to like it was 6 days, 5 days before roster lock. I'm gonna explain like why it came down to 5-6 days. Obviously, the very beginning. So obviously, like right after LAN, like me and like literally all of us were on vacation. So like we didn't really like think about it or talk about it that much, like about Apex and just the team or whatever. So basically, at least like a week passed by until like we kind of figured out what we actually wanted to do. And another thing is that we thought the roster lock wasn't going to be moved because roster lock initially was going to be like right after Germany was finished, but then LGS moved it, which changed a lot. So first thing first, both like all of us were, you know, gone for like a week, you know, doing our own thing and just not worrying about it. So then, you know, we wanted to tell Gen like earlier, but then Zero brought up the idea of like, because Gen brought it up too on stream, is like both Zero and Gen were in the midst of doing their visas with Falcons, and Zero was afraid that if we told Falcons too early that they would just like cancel the visa, right? Because obviously the visa costs money and time, and why would they want to do the visa for someone that, you know, is not going to be under Falcons and shit like that? So Zero thought it would be fucked up, right? So he didn't want to fuck him over, and I was like, okay, that's fair. So then we waited for the visa to start, you know, doing its thing and like, you know, getting it done, but then obviously that was taking too long, so then we had like no choice to then move on from the visa stuff, right? So then after the visa thing, we had to make sure to talk to Falcons first and make sure that it's even possible, because obviously when Falcons picked up both Zero and Gen at the time, they were under contract for Dark Zero, and Falcons had to buy them out. So in our head, especially in mine, if we, let's say, told Gen, like, hey, we want to replace you, and then instead, after we tell Gen, we go to Falcons and like, hey, we want to kick Gen, and then they tell us no, because, hey, we just bought a bunch of money, or bought you guys for a bunch of money from Dark Zero. We don't want to get rid of you. You're not making a roster change. You're not allowed, right? So because that's happened before, and orgs can do that. Like, you can't just be like, hey, we want to remove this player or this person, and they're just gonna say like, yeah, sure. Especially considering, like I said, Falcons paid a good amount of money for the both of them in the first place, right? So we were worried if we told Gen like, hey, we're gonna kick you, and then Falcons just says no, and then what? We had to make sure we asked Falcons first, like, is this even possible? Like, can we even do this? And then and when it comes to the Falcons thing, like, Falcons is also international, right? They're not like a NA org. They're European. Like, some of their staff are European. So then time zone also comes into play, which delays shit, like getting a response the day of and having to wait and stuff like that. So that was also another thing why like everything was so slow. You know, Zero's in Australia, I'm in NA, and the people that we talk to when it comes to staff are in the European time zone. So yeah, we had to make sure that it was even possible to do because of buyouts and shit like that. And then after we confirmed that we can, you know, or Falcons was on board with it, then we had to talk to Moist, because then not only we have to make sure that we can get rid of Gen, then we have to make sure we can even pick up both Waltzy and Draugr from Moist, because again, they were under contract and we have to buy them out. We have to see does Falcons want to buy them out? Do they want to buy them out? Yes, no. Is it too much money? No, we don't want to do this anymore, because that was our only option from what I know, is to pick up them two. We didn't want to anybody else. Not only we had to make sure that Falcons was on board with it in the first place, we had to make sure that Falcons was on board with buying them out, because the other two were still under contract. And obviously, imagine us saying, hey, Gen, we're going to kick you, and then along the way, Falcons like says, no, it's not going to happen, and like we're forced to basically play with the player, or Gen is forced to play with us, and he knows that we want to get rid of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are like too empathetic when it comes to the whole business shit. They're like, yeah, we should have told him earlier, blah, 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 blah. Like, as if there's no any other, like, fucking obstacles that you have to worry about when it comes to, like, you can't just fucking say, hey, I want to get rid of this person, and then for it to be fucking done the next day. Like, that's not how shit works. Like, yeah, we play fucking video games, but that's not how shit works. And the whole TSM thing is also way different, because the TSM thing is my contract was up. That was way different. I was not on a contract. People didn't have to get bought out or anything like that. So it was way faster. Falcons bought a lot for both Gen and Zero, so we were worried that they were even going to allow us to get rid of him in the first place, because they have the right to, like, reject us. And two, we weren't sure if they were going to be able to buy out Moist, the Waltzy and Draugr, and that's another thing. So by the time we, like, figured out all of this shit and confirmed everything, it was Gen's birthday, and I was like, do I tell him now it's fucking his birthday? Like, I'm not gonna be like, hey, happy birthday, but by the way, you're dropped. And coincidentally, Timmy fucking told him on accident. That's basically how it went. Like, people, like, I've like read it. I've like read all the Reddit shit. Like, for all the people that, then another thing, okay, so I explained the whole logical explanation, right? But I just want to separate myself from that logical thing, but just say, for all the people that deliberately think that me and Zero wanted to fuck over Gen this entire time, why would I want, like, I could have fucked him hard, like, fucked him even harder. I could have waited 2 days, 1 day. If I wanted to fuck him over, why didn't I wait until the day before? I could have just lied and be like, no, that's not true. We're keeping you on the team. Like, it had nothing to do with fucking anybody over. Literally, you don't understand, like, I don't think people understand that. Like, 5 days, it could have been worse. Like, let's please use our brains for once and think, like, come on, man. Like, can we just, like, use our brain? The funniest thing is that he was, like, also, like, he was already talking to teams, like, so he assumed that he was going to get kicked. Like, he had the vibe of getting kicked. So he was already talking to teams even before we even told him, or he found out for sure that he was getting kicked. It's as if, like, the timeline of him getting kicked even fucking mattered in the first place, because he was doing it anyways. So, like, come on.